Welcome to this Independence Day weekend edition of Freedom and Prosperity Radio, the weekly radio news magazine presented by the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. My name is Joe Thomas. Find out more about us at virginiainstitute.org. Supreme Court ruling on vote harvesting, and Friends of the Court brief was filed by our friends at Project 21. And on the phone with us, Vince Ellison. Vince, congratulations, I guess. These Supreme Court rulings are always kind of one of those where you really don't feel like you can get a red Auerbach moment and enjoy a victory cigar. But I know that Project 21 has released a statement saying they were pleased with the ruling. What is your view of the Supreme Court's 6-3 ruling on the Arizona case?
Well, thank you for having me, and I want to thank your listeners for also tuning in. The Supreme Court got it right, and since the 1875 with the Mississippi Act, you had these people that have always tried to control the black vote. Back then, they tried to repress it. And now, since they see black people voting Democrat, they're trying to, of course, expand it. Mm-hmm. And it's just a basic concept that states control their election laws, period. It doesn't come from Washington. It doesn't come from the courts. The Constitution has given the ability to control these state elections to all of the 50 states, and they want everybody else to kind of stay out of it.
Does the ruling also, at least put a court precedent to the idea that ballot harvesting and anything that is done without view of election officials should be avoided? I mean, this is, if I'm not mistaken, what Jimmy Carter and Howard Baker wrote in 2000-something.
Yeah, this is exactly why the Democrats did it, because, they're just like the old Oakland Raiders football team. If you're not cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah, right.
That's just what they do, man. They've always cheated. When you start talking about voter intimidation, when you start talking about ballot harvesting, when you talk about stuffing ballots. I mean, Jimmy Carter's first election, when he ran for Senate in Georgia, it had to be overturned because of election fraud. Gee. Jimmy Carter took the guy to court and beat him because he and the sheriff had cheated him out of his election. Jimmy Carter knows all about voter cheating.
I didn't think that stuff happened.
We all know that Lyndon Johnson stole his Senate seat in Texas.
Yep.
We all know how. He got pictures of the guys with the ballot box that they stole. We all know that they say that Kennedy stole the election because he got with the mob and the dating machine inside Chicago. And they stole it. They've been stealing elections ever since we've had them, and so they use the pandemic, they use the coronavirus as an opportunity to do a lot of the dirty stuff that they've always wanted to do, and they used it well. So they started this voter harvesting. They started these drop boxes. They started this unlimited mail-in voting. And at the end of the day, when people turn around and say, man, we can't verify any of this stuff. But it was legal at the time that they did it. So it wasn't like they, quote-unquote, cheated, because it was legal cheating.
Right.
What they did was immoral and wrong. I mean, you had those economic literacy tests were legal. Poll taxes were legal.
Oh, yeah.
But they were morally wrong and repugnant. And when the American people saw that is how the South was controlling the vote, they demanded constitutional amendments to change them. Mm-hmm. So, the South said there had to be a certain age. Well, they said let's change the Constitution, make it 18. They made poll taxes illegal. They made the literacy test illegal. But all of those things were legal for 100 years in the South. The Democrats tried to make this other stuff legal. They tried to make the ballot harvesting. But then what happened? Arizona found out that this stuff could not be justified. They changed the law. They wanted to change back. Supreme Court agreed. You can't do it.
Well, and this is different than some of the other cases where, attorneys general arbitrarily changed election law in 2020 without going through the legislative process. This went through the Arizona General Assembly, and it was voted, was signed, was enacted, and then the Democratic Party enjoined this case. Is it Brnovich?
That's it.
So, you mentioned some of these things that were legal. Our home state, Vince, is home to an act called the 1924 Virginia Act for Sterilization, where if you were on public assistance, the state could mandate you being sterilized. the Buck versus Bell case. So I mean, yeah, you the human ability to write crazy things into law and codify man's inhumanity to man is never ceases to amaze me. What about the dissenting votes? I presume it's all the liberals on the court in the dissent, but was there dissent outside of the fact of the pandering that we expect from the Democratic Party? Was it just exposing them for not being justices but just political apparatchiks?
Yeah, they're very interesting people. They seem to have this penchant, especially when it comes to black Americans, always try to side with whatever side is trying to give the quote-unquote black vote more power. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it is because they seem to be more inclined to try to right wrongs or perceived wrongs that they think might still be implicit, or if they are just liberal to understand that since black people vote 90% for the Democrat Party, that is their best chance of staying in power. Mm-hmm. But it seems like any time they have an opportunity to try to give more power to the black vote, they will always go for that side. And this is how Donald Trump is still driving them crazy. You know, those three justices that Trump put on the court ruled with the majority and pushed this thing through. Imagine if Hillary Clinton had become president and these three justices had been liberal. Well, we'd change it completely.
We'd be voting now.
This is why they still have such hatred for Trump, because even though Trump is gone for the present, his fingerprint and his presence is still being felt in the Supreme Court and in the federal courts throughout this nation.
Yeah, all the lower court, I hate to use that phrase because I think so many more cases get heard there, Vince. You and I have talked about this. We call them the Supreme Court, so therefore everything has to be a lower court. But I actually think the quote-unquote lower courts are more important than that. Obviously, these three justices are out there saying, we have to stop people from having their voting rights infringed. I asked Senator Mark Warner last week, I said, since everyone asks me if I have evidence of voter fraud or vote tampering, I said, do you have any evidence of voter intimidation or voter suppression?
I have no evidence that there were people in 2020 that were had their rights to vote restricted.
They have no evidence of anyone having their vote suppressed or anyone being turned away that was supposed to be allowed to vote. How do they base this idea when I've got a dozen mailboxes in Richmond who in the middle of mail-in balloting were sawzalled open and emptied out? Who knows how many ballots were there? Never mind the copies and the photocopies and the dead people that I've caught in the 7th District.
These people are excellent at deflection and projection. One of the most amazing things I've ever seen is that the Democrats know how to get rid of this one unflappable fact. That is that the Democrats run everything in the black community and are held responsible for none of it. Republicans run nothing in the black community and are held responsible for all of it.
Right.
So whenever the Democrats need something, they will imply that race has something to do with it, understanding that America is so anti-racist that they will bend over backwards to prove that it's not racist. So the Democrats, who are the most racist party in the history of mankind, now uses race to press through so many of the things that they want. And because they have so many black collaborators with them now, it's easy to get it done. Mark Warner hadn't probably stepped a foot in a black church or in the black community in the last 20 years, but his black collaborators do all the dirty work for him, and they get paid. You know, I wrote this book called The Iron Triangle that talks all about it.
Yeah.
How the black preacher, the black politician, and the black civic organizers are just conduits between the black community and the Democrat Party. They're just contractors, and their job is to go out there and get the black vote, period. And that's what they do. So whenever the Democrats want to use something or get something done, they now take the black community and they just exploit the black community. It's never about us. It's about them getting power. So if they want to have expanded voting, they say, oh, somehow another is racist. If they want to defund the police, oh, it's somehow another racist. If they want more money to put in social programs, you don't want to give it, oh, it's somehow racist. You see what I mean? Mm-hmm. We are there, the tip of their spear, to get what they want, even though They've been the people that have been the most racist party that's ever lived on the face of this earth. But it's an amazing thing to watch, and the fact that the press covers for them, and you are the exception, Joe. And you're one of the great guys. Thank you for doing what you do every day. But because a lot of people in the mainstream press covers for them, they get away with it.
Vince Ellison, Project 21. I've got to ask you, though, has this, confluence of critical theory in general, especially as it manifests in our schools under the banner of critical race theory or justice education, manifest itself to the point where they may have overplayed their hand? And what is important for the conservatives to not screw this up and wrest defeat from the jaws of victory? Because it seems like a lot of folks are so upset about what they're seeing being taught to their kids regarding race and this tribalism that it could be very bad for the progressive left.
Yeah, man, they overplayed their hand. They thought they were going to slip this critical race theory in. They were going to slip it in on people, and they weren't going to recognize it. But people are recognizing it exactly for what it is. Look, the Democrats have taught critical race theory since their whole existence. Nazism is defined as politics in support of a superior race. Mm-hmm. That's what it is. And in Germany, the races happen to be the white German race.
Right.
Here in America, the Democrats are using race again as a part of their political philosophy, and it shouldn't be. They want to do to the white community exactly what they had done to the black community, and that is make them hate themselves. Mm-hmm. They've kept the black community under control by making us believe that we are less than and that we are inferior. This is why when you look into the black community, you see so much murder, the terrible music you hear, calling each other these terrible names, the N-word, the B-word, the W-word. Mm-hmm. You see that there were less than 100 black men killed by police last year, but there were like 17,000 black men killed by other black men last year.
Right.
It's a dystopia that they've created, but they get 90% of the black vote. So it's all good for them.
But
if they can do the same thing to the white community, starting with their children, if they can get white people to start hating each other like they've gotten black people to hate each other, they'll do the same thing. You'll become a captive people. You'll have to depend on them for everything that you get, and they will get 90% of the white vote. That is their plan. Make no mistake about it. Mm-hmm. Their job is to take the self-esteem of your children and drive it into the ground and make them believe that they're oppressors, make black people believe that they're victims in the Democratic Party's rule, because you have two groups of people that hate one another, destroying each other, and they'll be on top. They'll celebrate and be kings of the ashes, which is all they are in the ghettos anyway. They celebrate these ghettos.
Right.
These politicians run every 2 years, and they run celebrating their achievements when these places are the worst places in Western civilization. But they act as if they should be reelected because they've done such a good job, and in their minds they have.
That's why Donald Trump scared them. He went into those communities, which Republicans are loath to do, or at least their consultants tell them not to. He said, if I pick up 3 or 4%, that's 3 or 4%, and I think it worked. Appreciate it, Vince. You have a great day.
No, anytime. Call me anytime. Okay, brother?
Up next on Freedom and Prosperity Radio, fighting critical race theory in Virginia's schools.